Hello everyone. This is Ghanaian Idris-The, popularly known as GIA, the Billionaire Realtor. So we'll be having another session of the Outlier series tonight, which is the the March edition of the Outlier series, and my guest will soon join shortly. So in a minute my guest will join. So I'm trying to add him now. So you are welcome, Aishan Said 007. You are welcome. So within a very short time, my guest will be here. So basically, what is the Outlier series? Outlier series is a program that is born out of curiosity, that despite the limitation of being a Nigerian, despite the limitation of living in Nigeria and born in Nigeria, so there are several economic hardship, and there are several disasters here and there that mask several Nigerian youths from attaining their maximum potentials, so from reaching the level where they should be. So but despite these difficulties, Nigerian youths are doing amazingly well. Some of them prove themselves to be extraordinary, and they are doing amazingly well in their various professions of calling. So if these people can be invited to come and share their journey with us, we are all going to learn and will be impacted, and will also be more hopeful that no matter what is going on in Nigeria, we can also become an outlier. So tonight's session is going to be very fantabulous, because my guest is someone who is an outlier, who have proved to be so doubting in the face of difficulties. So who is doing amazingly well in his profession of calling. So he will join us shortly. So my host will join shortly. I'll be sorry, my guest will join us shortly. So Upward Homes, you are welcome to tonight. Upward Homes, you are welcome. Thank you for showing up at tonight's edition, at the March edition of the Outlier series. You are welcome. So in few minutes, my host will join. So my host is someone who is doing so well, and he is someone we all need to learn from, because it is not easy for people to defy the odds. It's not easy for people to be doing so amazingly well, despite the discouragement, despite all the factor that is trying to pull someone down as a Nigerian. So in short time, my guest is going to join, and I'm sure we are going to benefit, and we are going to learn from him a great deal. So please, let's wait a bit. He's going to join in no time. So you can also share this link to your friends and family. Any one of them that you want them to benefit from this amazing training, please share this link with them. Let them join this program, because this is what they shouldn't miss. This is going to be very this is going to benefit them at a very great deal. So just share it to them, tell them to come and benefit from the knowledge we are sharing and the opportunities we are sharing in this program. So share the link with them. Tell them to follow this handle so that they can always participate in any of our educational program. So my host will join, right? My guest. So my guest is around, so he will join us in no time. So my guest has joined the session. Hello, Mr. Steven.
Good evening, sir. How do you do?
Hello. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. You're looking great tonight.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh,
Good
oh, oh.
evening.
Oh, I can see that stress is all written all over you due to the APC convention, going here and there, updating this and that. I can see that on you. So
I,
thank you for sparing this time to be with us here. Thank you
it's
very
a
much.
pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's a
So apologies to everyone who is here right now because we started a bit late tonight compared to should have started by 9:15, but my guest is a very busy man, so that's why I couldn't be here with him. But despite the fact we are live now, and believe me, in fact, you will thank everyone for being here tonight. You you'll be very very grateful for being here tonight because anything you learned here today is what you can easily find any you can hardly find it anywhere. So my guest is Mr. Stephen Angulu. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yes, yes, you pronounced it correctly. Stephen
It's
Ambulu. That's it.
it's someone I've known over the years, and believe me, I fondly call him the Aso Rock reporter. I call him Afro reporter because it works at the presidential villa and reports what's going on and keep us updated about the presidency. And apart from that, is a good writer, is a stunt writer who who has won several awards both locally and internationally. It's also a TEDx speaker. Believe me, all this profile I'm saying out loud is what you can hardly see anyone of our age, of a millennia, to have achieved that feat. But despite the economic hardship in Nigeria, and despite the various factors that make us not to do well, that want to pull us down in Nigeria, so my honorable Oga at the top, Oga in Abuja, Stephen Angulu, divide all the odds to put himself at the forefront. So yes, sir, we can't wait to learn from you tonight, sir. Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So can you tell us a little about yourself so we can learn from you, sir? A little thing about yourself, what you do, and the likes.
Well, I think you have said much of it already. I wouldn't want to,
I,
steal
I
too
can't hear
much.
you, sir.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Okay, how about now? Because I want to be able to interact with you
No,
hands free.
oh, it's not so loud like that. It's not so loud.
Oh, okay. No challenge. I would hazard the the discomfort of holding the mouthpiece to my lips anyway, even
Wow,
if that may
wow.
not be the ideal strategy. Okay, so quick one. Once again, thank you, Mr. Idris, for having me here. I really appreciate being on your live session. And Mr. Idris is someone I admire a lot. I admire his drive. When we first met, I think that was in 2020 at the Goal Setting Masterclass by Elisha Mamman. I think that was where we first clicked. And you shared a very inspiring testimony on that in that session that really got me, thinking about a whole lot of things. And that's, well, that would be the starting point of my personal inspiration of what you do, what you have been doing, and what you have achieved so far. And you have come a long way since that time, and I couldn't be more proud or be happier than for that milestone you have achieved since that time. So a bit about myself, based on name, I'm Stephen Angolu. Based on designation, what I do right now is I cover the State House and the presidency for one of Nigeria's leading newspapers. That's the Punch newspapers. And what I cover is the presidency. I give, details that happens within the presidential villa, the vice presidency, and happenings within the government, and most recently a politics reporter, which is why Mr. Idris was particular about the APC convention, because I had been covering it since yesterday here in Abuja at Eagle Square. And it has really been a whole lot of a whole lot of learning. It's been a whole lot of networking. It's been a whole lot of working, rather. You can't leave the work part out of it. And I would say that it's an experience for me personally. And I believe that every experience stretches us for a reason. And that was why he just said that there was stress written all over my face. Well, uh, since I returned, I just had to I had to succumb to the demands of my body to give it some rest before coming up on this session. And before coming up on this session, I realized that I still woke up to some work I needed to treat before coming up here. So I had to beg Mr. Idris to please find it in his heart to give me a few extra minutes to be here. So I'm really glad to be here. Okay. And one of the things I'll be sharing tonight is my journey. I believe you will learn more from, along the line as the questions come. So once again, thank you for joining.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we met in 2019, 2020, right? At the Mr. Elisha Maman, who is the kingmaker.
Sorry, can you hear me? Because I'm seeing a comment by Hopard Holmes that we can hardly hear you, Mr. Steven.
Exactly.
Is
Please,
that something general, or is it restricted to the viewer
so,
now?
though I connected my phone with a speaker, that's why I have to manage. But I think it's not so audible enough. Please help us to put your mouthpiece close to your mouth so that we can hear you. So the mouthpiece of the phone close to your mouth so that we can hear you.
Audible now.
I think it's better this way. I think it's better.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I believe that where we are right now, where we are going to be, is a factor of what we are doing currently. And what we are doing currently is a factor of what we know and who we know and whom we know. Because we can outgrow our environment. And environment is not just where we live, the houses, environment means where we are, which right now. And believe me, your story motivates me from becoming an award winner on LinkedIn, from having so many followers on LinkedIn, from becoming a reporter for Punch. And you're not just working anywhere, you're working at Aso Rock. Presidency mean Aso Rock anyway. So that's why I love to call you Aso Rock reporter. I know that this doesn't just come like, some people may say luck, but I don't, luck only come when someone has been fully prepared. But in fact, I don't see luck in this. I only see someone who works so hard to put himself at the forefront. Please, what can you tell us about things that has happened along the way from becoming a reporter, from being a writer, from winning several awards? What are the things you've encountered and how come? What makes you to be there today, sir?
Thank you very much, Mr. Idris. Now, the thing is, on our journeys, first I will have to admit that in as much as I would like to say that hard work, diligence, consistency, and a few of these other factors played a role in it. I would have to admit that nobody is self-made, right? And along the line, in the process of our growth, in the process of our, of in the process of our growth and the process of our the various responsibilities and the various roles we will take on in life. People, places, and events will play a role in shaping who we become, and our responses to these people, places, and events matter a lot, really. In writing, in I would date it back to not just my childhood. I would date it back to 2013. I know right now there's no better time to even discuss this because at the moment the universities, public universities, are currently on strike, are currently closed because the lecturers, that's the Academic Staff Union of Universities, have been on industrial action for the past few weeks now. And the beginning of my writing journey started within a chaotic period like this during a strike, a 5-month strike in 2013. I remember I was in my third year as a quantity surveying student back in school, and the whole thing was, it was really messy because we were supposed to have started the second semester moving into the fourth year, and then the strike just happened. At first, I said I was going to remain in school to, deal with it, stay back, study, do a lot of things. But at that time, as the hostels grew eerily quiet, I had to run out of school to go meet my parents at home because it was no longer safe for me to be in school. So at that time, I remember being invited to a youth meeting, and that youth meeting, it's a Christian fellowship and also, but then there's this skill acquisition component to it, right? Where at the end of the Bible study and whatever we're there to do, the gathering and all, we split into groups to learn various skills, right? The skills could range from music, various musical instruments. There were other people who were learning how to bake. Other people were learning how to make beats. Other people were learning how to, technical things like sound, digital equipment and all that. And one of the things that struck me was I was there to learn how to play the piano, right? I wanted to learn to play the keyboard. But along the line, when the whole classes were listed to us, I went to ask them what classes are available, what skills are available to learn. And they kept listing them. And when they mentioned writing, I said, stop there. I don't need any other one. Where's the writing class? Let me go there. So I went to the writing class, and then I met this woman called Auntie Pauline. Great lady, great woman. Has been a major help to my writing journey, really. My first ever formal training in writing, that was in 2013. So Auntie Pauline, I think we were 4 or 5 in that class. The fact that we were few even made it better because she had the opportunity to give us a more, close attention to our writing, close attention to what we're doing, our learning trajectory and all. So Auntie Pauline taught us plot, storytelling, story writing, a few other things, and then, within a few weeks, I wrote my first short story, right? Based on what I had been learning all the while. And this was an epoch-making moment for me because up until that time, I had just been a random writer, I'd been a hobbyist. But this time around, with the training of somebody I believed to have gone very far in this thing, and of course, somebody who was willing to teach me, it changed the whole dynamics for me. I was exposed to a whole lot, right, in the beginning. Now that journey led me to another journey. 2 years later, I met my writing mentor in person of Mr. Nathaniel Biba. We got connected by a mutual friend, and that year in 2015, I contacted him via email. We had never met. We would later meet after 2 years, because he was in the city of Abuja and he was writing for this newspaper, the Daily Trust. And within that period, I was engaging with him, and it was a whole lot of exposure for me. He exposed me to the works of people I didn't even know existed, right? Because all along I'd been learning in a vacuum. And all along, I've been thinking that, okay, writing is just this small aspect of my life that I was going to do, maybe fiction writing, non-fiction writing, and a few other things like that. I just knew the big, right? And you know, basics don't take you so far. They can only be the foundation, but they can't take you very far. And so Mr. Nathaniel exposed me to the works of other brilliant writers. And that was the beginning of the real journey for me, because a little while after that, I started putting out my writings for competitions. And I started winning competitions after that. Why? Because the training had molded me in such a way that I had grown confident about my ability to write, and I'd grown confident about the identity of a writer. If I didn't have that identity, if I didn't have the confidence in that ability, honestly, I wouldn't even put in my work, you know, to be judged in any formal writing competition. Excuse me, if you'll excuse me a bit. Let me quickly treat this. My phone battery is giving me some warning signs. Can I quickly to power
You
so
can.
that yes,
You can.
so that it doesn't run out on us before.
That's very essential.
All right. So I think we are good.
Okay, we are enjoying
So
you.
so like I said, like I was saying rather, the whole trajectory, it has always been the influence of one person or the other. Like I said earlier, we are not self-made. Nobody is self-made. Self-made in the sense of you exerting yourself to learn the daily disciplines of success and applying them, living by them. Fine, it's understandable. But self-made in the sense that nobody, absolutely nobody, contributed to your success. That's not true. It doesn't hold water in the real world. In fact, our very existence had to be with the cooperation of two people, right? So you can tell me whatever started the process will definitely have to sustain the process. So we will always be the product of, you know, the environment of people, places, and things that we interact with, and how we're willing to interact with them. So in a nutshell, that has been my story. 2013, I first got my first exposure to a formal learning environment for writing, and I took advantage of that. And then much later, I met a mentor who was willing to take me on the back and lead me. And much after that, I started putting out my writings for competition. I started winning competitions. I started getting noticed for my work. And later, much later, I leveraged social media. Social media was something that came much later for me, because I would say that this is just in writing now, right? Because we have to start from a point of departure. Like you said earlier, what brought me here and all that, it has a very strong link to my writing history. So that period, after I met Mr. Biban, you know, putting out my stories for competitions and all that, and winning a few of them, I started to leverage social media. Social media came much later for me, because I wasn't so keen to use that medium to express myself, really. So it will be that by the time I started using social media and putting my writings on WhatsApp, usually I created a broadcast list in 2017 for some people who would be on my WhatsApp, who were on my WhatsApp contacts, and then I share them inspirational messages. I share them things that I believe. I was getting feedback, beautiful feedback from them. Some people were saying their vocabulary was improving. Some people were saying that they were learning a lot from what I was sharing. And then I wasn't on Facebook. The only social media platform I could post about was LinkedIn and WhatsApp. LinkedIn, because 2 years earlier, I had joined LinkedIn just to connect with the author of an academic journal I was studying for my final year project. That was it. And then WhatsApp, because I had to be on WhatsApp to get updates about class assignments and all that, because sometimes I was missing classes and I almost missed the CA test at the time. So I had to join WhatsApp, you know, just so that that doesn't repeat itself again. So I joined that, and then much later I joined Facebook, because there was this course going on and that I really needed to get, but the course was not available on any other social media. It wasn't an email course. It wasn't any other. It wasn't videos where I could just go watch them. There were videos actually, but they were domiciled on Facebook. I think that course was if I remember correctly, is the Millionaire Mindset Audit. The Millionaire Mindset Audit. They call it the MMA by Olufukeji Ejimi Adegbeye. Brilliant trader, and he's doing mighty things today. So I had my first opportunity to sit with Mr. Ejimi Adegbeye back in 2017, September 2017. I'm giving this story because there's for you to see the link of how people played the roles people played in my life to get me to where I am.
Wow.
I took Ejimi's course. I just finished my NYC at the time. The course I remember was 25,000, I think, 20,000, 25,000. So I got a link from Michael Audu at the time to register for this course. And then I told my friend Michael Audu, I said, look, this course is not anywhere it's on Facebook, and I don't want to join Facebook. He said, fine, you can join Facebook, and then after the course, you can log out of Facebook, right? So I joined reluctantly, took the course, but then I found that I could use this medium to propagate my writing, and that's what I started doing. So when people talk about people having history on their social media that people do not want to see, people having some years back or past on social media of things they wrote that were not making sense, I didn't really have that history, because at the time I came onto social media, I had already been writing for close to 7 years, right? By the time I started sharing my writings on WhatsApp, I'd been journaling for years. I'd been journaling for years, and some of those lessons was what I was picking and putting it on social media, and it was inspiring people. And I was like, wait, this isn't even my current thinking. This is something of the past. Okay, I'm just bringing them to the fore and then just sharing them. It's not something current. But then it was making an impact in the lives of people, and then I saw the need to continue on that path. Now, social media blew up whatever I was doing. Facebook, I built quite a following, and then on Twitter, not Twitter now, Facebook, I built a community. When I wrote my first reading guide, I built a reading community back in 2018. And then much later, I started expanding to other social media platforms like LinkedIn, like Twitter. On LinkedIn, I started putting out my posts, sharing consistently, writing, inspiring people. And these were just offshoots of my learnings in my secret. And people were really getting to like it. And then I was nominated for an award back in 2020 and the subsequent years later. So that has been my trajectory, because number one, people play the role in it. People play the role in who I am today, and my willingness to take advantage of these opportunities that were coming my way. I just told you that I had to pay for a course fresh out of NYC at the time. I served in Gombe State, in the eastern part of Nigeria, and so I was fresh out of NYC when Ejimi's course came, and then I had to pay up, join the course, learn what I had to learn, and started practicing. So in the years that followed, I started building on that knowledge I'd gained from that course and build a community, and then that spiraled into much of what we have today. So again, in 2017, after joining Facebook, after joining the Ejimi's course, I got to meet Mr. Elisha Mama, right? Great man, the convener of the winning mindset.
Very great man.
That was in late 2017. I was privileged to join the second session of the winning mindset at the time. It was holding in November 2017. I just resigned from my job in Abuja, and then I came to Kaduna, waiting for the admission process to kick off my master's at ABU Zaria in project management. And then I met Mr. Elisha Mamman, and then, the trajectory continued from there. The process of mentorship continued from there. And I'll also say that in 2015, early part of 2015, I was privileged to have met Apostle Joshua Selman, who in no small way shaped my ideology, made me into the person I am today. And I owe him so much. I owe him so much. So I'm giving you this picture to understand that people are made by the contributions of other people, right? So that you don't get this idea that we're all self-made and then you should execute your growth because you want to take all the glory. It doesn't work like that. Okay, so just open yourself to the process. Make sure you're dealing at every point in time. You're opening yourself up to the right people, and of course, you will turn out successful eventually if you're on the right path. Right?
Wow, I'm so impacted by your story. I've picked some lessons from your story right now. I because you mentioned about mentorship and leveraging on other people who have attained, who are at the peak of their success or who are more successful than someone. So and somebody who is not naturally humble cannot respect, cannot be so loyal, cannot just put down himself to be mentored by others. You said you met Sister Pauline in church, who taught you how to write. Only few people go to religious places nowadays. You get it? For somebody who is well brought up and somebody who is so humble, you wouldn't even want to take the class. It could have been that this all this training organized by this by church is not even for me. When I've left, nobody will stop you from doing that. And believe me, I actually say something that loyalty is not only in politics. Loyalty goes even in businesses, even in mentors, from mentors, a mentor to a mentee. All these people that you've met that have impacted your life one way or the other, you are very humble and you are very loyal to them. That is why they're able to share. That's why they're able to cut some soup for you. And see you right now. The soap is working for you so amazingly well. And believe me, you also mentioned leveraging on social media. Only few people can just come to say they are making a living from social media. They've connected from people from social media and the likes. Because what many people just see social media is just like a space where they can catch fun, where they can gossip, where they can bounce on someone, where they can drag someone like a generator, where they can just do whatever they like. Whereas some people are making a living from the social media. So I've met so many great personalities from social media who I've not met physically, but they've impacted my life from their training, from their courses, from free ones and the paid ones. And I'm looking forward to a day I'm going to miss them. So social media also play a very key role in your life because you use it to the optimum advantage. So, and what I'd like to say is just that if to the current youth who are on strike right now, you say you started your career while other people are on strike, while you were on strike in back to your institution days. So those, we are still facing the same scenario right now. Is there any advice you can give to people who are still on strike, to students who are at home on strike?
Well, the
Because
thing
believe
is,
me, education during the time has deteriorated 10 years backward. You get it? So people don't have any interest in going for academics again. So those people that are at home now, based on answer strike, what advice can you give them?
now the thing is, the whatever it's basically not about what happens to us. We have very little control, relatively little control about the external realities that impact on us. It's our reaction that we can control. um, I believe that it's unfortunate that some students, innocent students who would have completed their programs by now, who should well on their way be who should be in school, who should be learning at this time, are stuck at home because of some exchange up there, and it's saddening because the realities that impacted my elder ones back in the early 90s were still the same realities that impacted my education 20 years later, back in 2013. And it's still a sad reality that these same issues are impacting negatively on the education of people who are still in school years after I have graduated. It's a perennial problem. It's generational. It doesn't discriminate. I had uncles who who were with us at home for during a 1 year ASU strike. For a full year, that's 1 year lost. So if we're looking at a 5-year course, that's 6 years. If it's a 4-year course, that's 5 years automatically. Through no fault of their own. Through no fault of their own, right? It's just the product of two elephants fighting where the grass is green. And the grasses get to suffer for it. So it's a sad reality that not just that students are at home when they should be in school, but it's a sad reality that this is a perennial problem. My uncles experienced it. Some of our parents experienced it. We experienced it. And then those that are coming after us are still experiencing it. So it's really sad. That's that, to say the least. Now, that said, we can't always determine what happens, in the grand, in the whole, in the broader sense of things, like many people didn't plan for. Many people who are in school today didn't plan for ASU strike. They didn't plan to be at home for 6 or 7 weeks now. Many of them didn't. But the reality is here, right? And for some people of means, they have been able to work their way out of the country and find better places where the systems work better and they can deliver their future well on time. And if you look at the situation in Ukraine that necessitated the homecoming or the deportation of bringing back home of several Nigerians for their own safety, you would see that this thing is not just restricted to Nigeria alone, right? It's a whole lot. So it's not just ASU strike that would impact on your education. War and the decisions of some big leaders up there could just truncate whatever you did. When you have your plan at 23, you want to get your first job at 24. You want to you want to hit your PhD at 27. And after that, you want to be a professor, maybe, or a senior advocate of Nigeria at 30 or 35. No. So when you're having those kind of plans, you don't necessarily know that these forces are just there up there watching you and they're smiling because they know that it's but then that's not to say that you shouldn't plan. That's not to say that we shouldn't plan. So the ASU strike, I would say that we can't really control these things, but we can control our reaction to them. And one of the ways I controlled my reaction to the 2013 ASU strike, 5-month strike, was not to allow time, not to allow the slow movement of time at the time to impact on the urgency of what I was doing and where I was going to. I know of many people who, during the strike period, put their lives on hold because, well, academics was the crux of their lives at the time. So when academic opportunities or academic activities stop, their life automatically stops. But for me at that time, I was so fortunate. I wouldn't just say that I was wise or some kind of outlandish person. I mean, I was so wise enough to know these things at the time. I was just so fortunate to be in the right environment that enabled me to make some good decisions easier, right? And part of that was being in an environment that encouraged learning. My immediate family, we encourage learning a lot. My dad, he's a go-getter. He learns. He encourages us to learn at every opportunity. So I would say that influenced my decision to take up that writing skill that I had for a while, and then put it under some kind of formal training under somebody. And that's the thing. I would just talk on 3 points here, really, what we can do during this strike period. Number one is micro-learning. Micro-learning is not just you subjecting your mind to under some tutelage and all of that. It's a system of upskilling yourself. It's a system of upskilling yourself to keep yourself relevant for the now, right? At the time I was learning writing in 2013, I was studying quantity surveying in school. That's construction. It has nothing to do with the literary arts, well, except for the fact that we wrote essays we wrote in. That's pretty much it. We were not required to do some literature, to do some reading and all of that, to do some reading in terms of literature, writing and all of that. No, this was a construction-based course. Mathematics is there, a bit of financial accounting is there, a bit of law is there, a bit of administration, public administration is there. It had nothing to do with the literary arts. But then you see, microlearning gives you the opportunity to reinvent yourself, even if that's not the course you had originally studied in school. See, you don't have to go under a five-year program to reinvent yourself or to take on another field this time around. Microlearning is really the way to go. The short courses you are taking on LinkedIn, the short courses you are taking on maybe on this knowledge sites, Coursera, Udemy, and all of that, when you piece these things together, I think they are a bit not to downplay our degree, our bachelor's or master's degree, but I think they put you far ahead in the current world. They make you more useful in the marketplace today. So I would say that whoever is stuck at home in this strike period, take advantage of the digital tools that we have today and the learning platforms that we have today. We have lots of them. Take advantage of them to learn skills, specific tradable skills in the marketplace. Okay? And then number two, make good friends and association. Now, we always think that this thing is a no-brainer, right? The fact that evil communication corrupts good manner, and bird of a feather flock together, and all of those things, those sayings we put out there. But those things are true, right? Because you cannot choose. Yes, you can choose not to be influenced, but there's an extent to which you can do that. A safer move is to put yourself in an environment that will influence you for good. Because whether or not you know it, you will be influenced. Right? You will be influenced by your associations. You will be influenced by the people you allow talk to you. You will be influenced by the voices you choose to listen to. Our job is to put ourselves in environment, is to put ourselves among people, put ourselves in places, put ourselves in events that inform us, that educate us, that moves us forward for our advantage, right? So you cannot control whether or not you'll be influenced. It's hard to do that. What you can control is to put yourself in the right environment, people, places, and events that would influence you for good. That's number two, associate. Number three is the discipline to put out, to practice what you're learning, right? It's going to take a lot of discipline to practice what you're learning. I know I just mentioned micro-learning. I know that it's part of, it's a no-brainer in this era where you have to, I took courses on writing, aside the course I took with Auntie Pauline and, the mentors I have mentioned earlier. I also took courses on writing. I took courses, I learned from people, great minds like Malcolm Gladwell. I still learn from those people today, you see. So it's a continuing process. Now I write for one of the biggest media houses in Nigeria, and I cover one of the most sensitive beats any journalist can cover in their journalism. It's more like giving an opportunity to start from the top.
Wow.
Right? So that's more like covering the state houses is more like the capping, the icing on your career, on your journalism career. You have to have been experienced for years, handling information sensitively to be put in that kind of place. But then I came into this fair, God helping me, and then I was taken straight up to that place.
Wow.
So it's like starting from the top. So you can't necessarily tell what your process is preparing you for until it manifests, right? Yes, of course, there are still sentiments where some people believe that, hey, you should have spent a little more time, in studying. You should have spent a little more time on the field before being handed this holy. But if you don't know Joseph's history, I'm using biblical terms now. If you don't know Joseph's history, you would belittle his where he is today. If you don't know that he spent 13 years in prison for what he did not do, you would want to say that he's being prime minister of Egypt was by luck. It wasn't by luck. We all know that. We know the story, right? It's not by luck. The fact that he was new in government, it doesn't mean he was new in the experiences of life, right? The same goes to David. So many people would have thought that David was just one of these. He was more like a happy-go-lucky, somebody who just stumbled upon, fortune and made a name out of it. But if the Bible hadn't narrated to us that he had been in the bush killing the lions and the bear, we're very likely to downplay his achievements. Why? Because we wouldn't know about his history. He killed the lions, killed bear, was protecting sheep for all of those years. So if he could protect sheep that well, how much more people? So you really can't tell what your process is preparing you for until you get there. Like I just mentioned now, handling such sensitive information, being in the place where I am right now, handling such sensitive information, it's a place of privilege, really. But then, if you are to look at it in the real ideal sense, there's always a track record. There's a backlog of there's always a track record. There's always a story that leads to that to whatever point we're in. All right.
Wow.
So I would discipline, micro learning. If you're a student, Nigerian student, or a student in the diaspora, and you have been affected by one of these things that have been happening globally, you can't go to school. You're stuck in your education. I would say that leverage micro learning. That's number one. Put yourself in people, put yourself in places, connect yourself with people, and make sure you're at events that inspire you, that moves you forward. And then thirdly, the discipline to follow through, right? The discipline to follow through. There's such thing as practice. Practice is never outdated. You have to practice intentionally. If you're somebody who is doing a skill-based task like writing, coding, and all of these things, practice will definitely play a role in how you turn out, okay? So these three angles, and of course the God factor. I'm not putting it last just to sound spiritual. I'm putting it last because that's more like the icing on the cake. Or will I put it the foundation rather, not really the icing on the cake, the foundation of everything. Because sometimes some things are so all-encompassing, you don't want to put them in a list, So the God factor is definitely there, and that will play a huge role in how we turn out, okay? God is not just a factor, he's everything. So our faith would eventually play a huge role in how we turn out, all right?
Wow. Thank you very much. I just wish you can continue like this, because from what you just said now, I realized that one of the biggest mistakes I made when I was in university is just that I have just a sole motive, and my only motive is just to go to university to bank first class and nothing more. That's not a bad idea anyway. But there's nothing stopping someone from becoming a first class student and having a big business on campus, and also becoming a political figure. There's nothing bad in that. But I put all my focus on that. Actually, I couldn't make first class anyway. But it was so late for me to realize that I could have done so many things at the same time. So though doing when I was in school then I was in Unilorin. I went to Unilorin, and that was the time that Unilorin didn't strike. Though they are now they joined the gang of striking, like they now strike like thunder right now anyway. But those days they don't strike. So in doing my final year days, I now see people bagging several certificates from other things they've done while in school. Bagging other, seeing people at SUG level doing well politically, seeing people doing businesses that they come from even a very, very poor background, like myself, and they are doing so well in the business in school to the extent that they can even send money back home. So when I sat down and looked at myself, I wrote my last paper in school in bitter heart that I've wasted lots of time, because I realized that while I was in school, I should have these people I saw doing well, not that they are better than me, not that they are so extraordinarily skilled than me, not that they are as not that they are more hardworking, but they are privileged to move with some people at a particular time. I was like, wow, I should have done some other things so better. So that's the power of having information, power of having the right connection. Because having a good information and moving with the right set of people, having a great friends, both of them now work together. In fact, being disciplined will not be a problem because these people will have to enforce that you are very disciplined. So during my service here, the only goal I have is just that I must learn skills no matter I must be skillful no matter what. So that is what brought to meeting Elisha Maman and the likes. Because I was looking for opportunity everywhere until I met Elisha Maman, who is now a very great mentor of mine that I very much respected. And also like met somebody like you who is now a reporter in Aso Rock. So thank God I have a friend in Abuja. So anybody right now, not just only people who are on strike, who are students, it can apply to anybody at any level you are, at any stage you are in life. If something is not working right now, it means that something has been done wrong in the past, and this thing can be replaced. It can be retraced probably by learning more about things you need to learn. Things you think you are too late to learn right now. Believe me, if it's going to take you 3 months, that 3 months will come and go, and you won't still learn it. Why not just pay the hard time to learn? So why not just make good friends? You are not Nobody is too old to make a good connection. It only requires some level of humility, some level of humility. So and being disciplined, I'm sure it's also very expensive. It's not so cheap. But when someone is dedicated, nothing is too big to achieve. My honorable boss, I would like to ask you that probably if you can just revert, like if you can just say 10 years back, 10 years back to when you are 10 years younger right now, what are the things that you will have done differently if you are given the opportunity? Like 10 years younger than who you are right now, what are the things you'll be like, oh, you will have done differently?
No, thank you very much for that question because I think that's quite a brilliant question. It gives people the opportunity to learn and to learn from the past of other people. I think if I was to take myself 10 years back, one of the things I will prioritize, one of the things I will prioritize is my relationships.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's the same thing I'm
because
going to work. Sorry to cut. That's the
yeah,
same thing I'm also going to mention that I will do more. I will, I will have worked on more. Wow. Thank you. You can
yeah.
continue, sir. Thank you.
So, because at that time I also almost fell into the trap of you know being so focused on my academics that I almost missed out on um, on the other vital aspects of life. Now, I wouldn't say that I didn't make good friends. Of course, I made very good friends in my university days, relationships that I still enjoy till today, right? But then there's always the place where you could have done more, right? Where there's this when you finally settle down and you want to tell yourself the truth, you know that you could have done more. So one of the things I would have done much better is to build relationships with the people I have around me, my course mates, those below me, I mean after me, and of course those ahead of me. Even if I did this in quite a measure, I still would have done it better because looking at the rewards I have gotten or the proceeds I have gotten from some of the few I did, the little effort I made in building relationships with the right people, it has helped me so far, you know. So I begin to imagine what if I did more? What if I provided that space in my life where I could just do more? Let me go personal here. Um, I started off my undergraduate study not with a good results, I would say. There's this culture shock that happens to most of us who think we are very good from the secondary school. We've always been carrying first and second all our lives.
Thank you,
We
boy.
think, yes. And we think we can just come into the university environment and then, just keep nailing the first class at will, right? But then it's a different environment, it's a different place. And even if I had the opportunity to, even when I had the opportunity to be mentored by a few people to tell me that, look, the university is different, there's a lot of things you have to do differently. It took some level of failure for me to get for the lessons to stick in, right? And so when I started my first year, I started with a CGPA of a third class. That was I finished my first year, 100 level first and second semesters. My CGPA was at the third class. That wasn't encouraging, right? For someone who was fresh out of secondary school, who went to a remedial college just for the sake of easing my admission process, not because I needed to remedy some dark spots on my O-level results. No, I had it good from the beginning. It's just for the process of easing my entry into the university, I had to go for remedial studies back in Katsina State. I think that was in 2010. So I got into the university, first year, third class, and then that was it. I had to start working my way up onto a second class upper. I would say this without any form of cynicism to my course mates, but I happened to be the only student who came in, who was in the only student to have graduated with a second class upper within the set that I came in with at the 100 level. We're only three in our class who made it to a second class upper at the time. The rest two people joined in their second year. They're these direct entry students. I happen to be the only person who graduated with a 2-1 within my set of students intakes who came in 100 level. Right? So I wouldn't want to. I would say that's it. That was a thing that was good, but then it came at a price, right? I didn't have the opportunity to build a very solid social life, as many people will call it. When other people were partying at the time, I had to be in the class studying. During mid-semester breaks and Salah breaks, when other people were going home, I found myself stuck in school. Spending late nights in classes alone, right? Which might be quite dangerous, but I stayed in classes all night, several nights. Most of the time I spent more nights. I would say I spent more nights in classes than I did in my hostel, I would say, So these were some of the things, the prices I had to pay, and it impacted on my relationship. Personally, I didn't even have the opportunity to go into a romantic relationship in my university days, right? All through 5 years, 100 level to 500 level, no girlfriend or no love interest, nothing whatsoever, which is quite strange anyway. But then that was the path I had to take to remedy the bad start I had with my third class results. So what I would do differently if I were to race back 10 years is, of course, to build my relationship, and not just relationships with people, but my relationship with God. There are things I would have taken more seriously when I had the luxury of not being burdened by life's responsibilities, right? When I had the luxury of, having somebody else think about my feeding for me, right? Many young people know the privilege they have for the fact that you're not even thinking of what next to eat is not your concern. That's a privilege already in this part of the world, right? You don't have to think about, it's not in your personal responsibility to feed yourself in your next meal. So many young people discount that, and they are hurrying into adulthood. And when adulthood comes, to revert back to children again, and it doesn't work like that. You see, once you're an adult, you're an adult. So, and there's this, you cannot over prepare for adulthood, right? I personally think there should be a good manual for us. Okay, so I would make sure that what I do differently is to build my relationship with people and with God. Two, what I would do 10 years back is to invest, no matter how small, because in investment, time is your friend and time can be your enemy. You see that? So investing in terms of stocks, investing in financial assets that would gain value over time, that is what I would have done. If that's what I would do if I was given a 10-year, if I was to go back 10 years prior again. Okay, investing, learning about finances, because nobody is too young to learn about finance. You're not too young to spend, so why should you be too young to earn? Why should you be too young to invest? Right? Why should you be too young to build solid financial structures in your life that will serve you well into your 20 somethings and in your 30 somethings and your 40s thereabout? You see, so those are the things I would prioritize: my relationships with people, and of course, investing, and then learning new skills. Learning new skills, that's the third part, because there were some things that if I had learned them earlier, I would be at the forefront of certain spaces in the country right now. There are some things that if you had learned earlier, if you had learned some skills earlier, for instance, cybersecurity, if you had learned some skills, digital marketing earlier, 5 years earlier, you would have been at the forefront of that trade in Nigeria right now. Exactly. I can guarantee. You see that? So, but then it's not too late, okay? Because the people who started that time, who are where they are today, they had to start from somewhere, and you can always start from somewhere. All right?
Wow. Thank you very much. So, relationship with building a more solid relationship with one's creator, which is God, building a more robust relationship with people, and learning, and also investment, personal investment in stocks and properties and the likes. Wow, this actually touched me a great deal, because that's one of my boss who I so much respected in the digital space. He's still less than 30 years old anyway. Anytime I go through his profile, like I'm so hard. I was like, this man made his first 1 million naira when he was just 17 years old. First 1 million naira when he was seven. Like he was about to write jump. When I met him, this story, I've heard about this story, and when I met him, he told me the story personally. And come, he was about to write jam, and he has rich parents who are of just middle class. They promised to send him abroad to go and study medicine, and they couldn't. They had to call him that they couldn't send him abroad again. It was like, if you can't send me abroad, I'll go and learn how to do internet fraud. And internet fraud was just coming to vogue that day, at that time, around 2010, 11, 12. Then it was like, why was browsing the internet searching for Naira land, and also a particular training about digital marketing. But the training is just a 5 days training in Lagos. So during that 5 day training, it will sleep from home, like it will just escape from Ibadan and come down to Lagos. So you do that for just 5 hours, for 5 days consecutively. You will leave very, very early, take a particular bus they call Sole. So Sole from, those people is always so cheaper. Sole from Ibadan down to Lagos. After the training, that day will go back to Ibadan. We go back to Ibadan in the evening. So he was the youngest in the class. And the convener of the event was so much interested in him that, oh, this small boy, when he found out that this guy is not from Lagos, he was so shocked. So he made some good connections. And some of the people he met during that time, they just worked within a few months, and he made his first 1 million naira. Now he has made over 900 to 1 billion naira on the internet in the space of 9 years. So he's living, so he has invested in so many things and the like. He did the wedding 3 years ago. Several people commissioned as honorable general, they came for his wedding because he has put the name of their family on a platter of gold. So having information as early as possible, investing as early as possible is always so important. And believe me, these are factors of where we grew up and who we grew up with. So one thing people used to say is just that when you realize that you are wrong, you did some things in the past that is wrong. The moment you realize that you've done something wrong in the past, is that moment you have changed to become better. Because without having a regret of the bad past, you won't have a focus of changing to become good in the future. So thank you very much for being very, very honest with your response. So looking forward to the next 5, 10 years now. Should we expect you to become the next president of Nigeria, or what are you looking towards to be? What are you looking to? Oh, probably a senior writer in Nigeria. Or probably you will not even be in Nigeria again. You'll be abroad. So, what are the things you have, and what are the goodies you have for us?
Well, I'm not so much about. Well, of course, while I have plans, while I have goals for the future, as much as possible, I try to write them in pencil because I know that I'm not the final authority over my life, right?
Wow, that's
So, so ultimately, I'm very much aware of my plans. I know that I know that I would want to serve in very high quarters in the near future, to grow, to get the credibility, and to serve with kings. But then at the end of the day, ultimately, the future is determined today, right? So, and it's determined every day. So I'm putting in the work. I'm doing what I believe is important for me to do today to actualize that future. And I also know that, like I said earlier, it's going to take people. It's going to also take the help of God to get there. So as for this, that's part where you said it's president. I wouldn't say that's something. That's something.
that's
If
a
it's a
joke.
president, I would want to be the. Of course, the highest aspiration I have at the moment is to be the president of my own life, to be able to direct my personal sovereignty, to be able to guard my mind, right? To be able to guard my emotions in a way that doesn't make me put me at the mercy of the vicissitudes of life or the volatile happenings around me. So personal mastery, being a personal president of myself, is what I'm concerned with at the moment. So
Wow,
so that would
wow,
be
wow.
yeah.
That's great. That's great. That's great. In the journey of life, we usually have different setbacks. So probably
Yeah.
financial setbacks, probably over expectations from someone. Like some people promised me job when I was serving. Hey, if you do this with me, you work with me, you show. No, I'll give you job in Abuja. I'll give you a job in Lagos, give you a job in Kaduna. But many of them, they couldn't. I wasn't shocked because I'm not expectation so high. But if they could point out what has been my own setback, because there is actually nothing like setback, but we only have an assumption that probably something has been in place, will have done better than this. So some of the things that have like guided to be in that aspect is that I come from a very local background, and for me, only people can just say they can hardly handle this opportunity of saying, go to this place, attend this type of training, mingle with these people. The only thing is just education, go to school education. With them, it's believe that that's the peak of success. Have a good job, married, settle down in the life. But there are more than that actually. And so financial setbacks, there are some things that if probably one has come from a very buoyant background, will have been able to achieve, So some of our peers are in UK right now, not because they are so wise enough to be in UK. So many of them are very wise and many of them are very intelligent. But despite that fact, some of them have their life planned out already for them. Their life has been planned out for them. It's just for them to just key in and plug through. So financial challenges came for me at some time, or not getting information. And I come from a good place whereby we are always told to be ourselves. Don't mingle with this, don't collect money, don't like money too much. Many of them now be like they have been etched at the back of someone. So relearning it I told someone that while I was serving, I read over 100 books about finances, about relationship, about leaderships. And this over 100 books during my service here helped me more than all the 4 books, all my 4 years in the university, because they helped me to unlearn so many things. Rupa Kiyosaki book made me start business. Think Rich Dad and Poor Dad. Napoleon 8 Think and Grow Rich made me know that even if things are not happening right now, don't just leave it. Still continue to be. Several books like that. Think Robert Greene, Tough Kind of Laptop People Do by Paula. Several of them like that. So, what are the things you think that probably, if it has been if they had them earlier on, they will have been in higher state than this. Let's call them setback, but actually nothing like setback. But let me just tag it as setback. So what are the things that you think have caused that in the past?
Okay, I think that the first point is that I try not to live from the see life from the lenses of regret, right? I try as much as possible every day to take advantage of the opportunities that are before me today, now, and make good use of them for whatever I'll be doing in the future. And, just live by the day. If I understand your question correctly, you were talking about setback, and what and what setback has really impacted my life, and what have I learned from these setbacks. I think basically the most challenging setback for me has been with my relationships with people, like you said earlier, that sometimes you were promised stuff and it was not fulfilled and all that. That played a role in my growing up process, actually, because I know that there were people who I was looking up to, who not necessarily relatives now, people who I was looking up to be of help to me, but weren't. But then it did not set me back per se. Why? Because not because I'm human, right? Disappointment impacts us oftentimes a lot. But the fact that through training, I have exposed myself to people or mentors who have helped me undo this thing we call the entitlement mentality.
Wow.
Yeah. So the expectation that my future is tied to someone else's desire and ability to be of help to me, there will always be that factor. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, nobody is self-made. But to expect that everybody within your life right now owes you something, owes you some kind of duty of care. Yes, legally, duty of care is there. Owes you some kind of responsibility to take you by the hand, lead you, do this for you, do that for you. I don't think that's a healthy disposition to have, because it will set you up for disappointment. Lots of disappointments that if you don't have the emotional stability to weather, you will end up broken. And that's the truth, right? I've had relationships with people where I'll narrate an experience. In 2015, my school, where I graduated from, ABU Zaria, was doing a design competition. And that competition was for the ABU Phase 2 project. So we formed ourselves into groups. They brought the proposal to us. And usually those people who were eligible to apply were those in the built environment, obviously, because it has to do with construction and all that. So you will see that most of the applicants for that competition were students from Faculty of Environmental Design, Faculty of Engineering, Mechanical Engineering, Water Resources Engineering, Electrical, and all that. And so we formed a team. My team had to do with an architect. I was approached by the architecture students at the time, 2 architecture students. No, there were 3. And then there was 1 other student from the mechanical engineering side, and then I was a quantity surveyor on the team. And so we're supposed to have meetings upon meetings, practice upon practice sections, where we would map out our plan, give it a name. We're called the Stalwart Group, Stalwarts. And so we mapped out a name for ourselves. We're supposed to have plans where we would put our details together, and then go present them, to the panel. And the prize money was huge at the time, right? It was, I think, it was over ₦1 million for a group of five students. I mean, that was a lot of money back then, right? Yes. So basically we did that. and there was prize monies for the first, second, and third groups. So on the day of presentation, the members of my group were not available. Everybody had been.
That's surprising. That's so surprising.
I was shocked. I was like, okay, where's everybody? I called, I'd prepared. And to make matters worse, my friend, who was my roommate at the time, belonged to another rival group. So when he was getting up to dress to go to the presentation venue, I too was under pressure to dress up, go there, to meet my, teammates, hang out, discuss last minute plans before the main presentation happens. But none of them were there. When it got to our turn, the panelists called our name, the group name. Nobody showed up, and one person cannot do the presentation. It certainly can't come from me alone. So I must admit that I became bitter. It was some distance. The venue was quite some distance from our hostel, so I made the trek, walked down there, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to put my happiness in the hands of other people again. I think that was where I made the decision. So that came at a price, because from that point on, it meant I had to take personal responsibility for almost everything, right? If something would work, I will ensure that I will be the one to make it work. You see that? Including some of my relationships with people that fell through. And it gave me the understanding that desire to put in the work, to put in the effort, right? In whether it's my relationship with people, whether it's on projects, it helped me realize that when such kind of ventures fail, you won't have the regret of not doing enough, right? At least you have it settled at the back of your mind that, look, I fought for this, I worked for this, it didn't work, didn't do enough, okay? It didn't work. There are lessons to learn here. I will learn the lessons and I will move on. Okay? So those are the things that shaped, those are some of the regrets, like you said, that I had, right? Putting my destiny in the hands of other people. Sorry, the power was just restored. So let me quickly put some settings.
Okay, no problem.
All right. So you can hear me now, right?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay.
Can I go on with my question?
Pardon?
Okay, can I ask another question? Can I go on?
Okay. I'll entertain one more.
Okay, we are almost done anyway. So what I want to ask now is that we talk about relationship and learning. What venue can you advise us to be? Like, what are the best things for somebody to have a quality relationship? How can someone best associate with himself with people of good nature who are very valuable? And the second one is, how best can one learn? Like, one learn, not everything is learnable right now. Some people can be learning good thing, while other people are learning bad thing. So people can associate themselves with good people, while other people are associating themselves with bad people. And whereas that bad people may be good people to them because they are not well enlightened enough. And do you have any platform for us that we can join? If you have some platform for us, some training for us, some courses for us, maybe you've written some books or that can be of benefit to us. So that's my question.
All right. Thank you very much. Like you said earlier, some people enter in relationships with people where they are in associations with people they deem that are not good for them, but they think they are good for them. And I think our relationships are largely about, or people we associate with are largely about our values and how we see ourselves, right? So if I'm in a place where if I want to get into certain circles, the first thing I usually do is to be in those circles or be in an environment where those circles meet, right? So geography, there's always a geography component to relationships. If you want to be in certain circles. You not necessarily have to be there. It just does. You don't just necessarily have to be there digitally now. There are some times where you have to take it physically. You have to be physically in those spaces to be in the faces of those people you want to meet. And for me, when I moved into the city of Abuja, one of the things I've been doing is to check this site they call Eventbrite. I know the events for that week, the events for that weekend, and I mark the events I want to attend, and I attend them because I know that I will meet new people there. I will meet good relationships there. You understand? So that's one way I can put myself in spaces to meet the right people. And also, second, I have a community of readers. For anyone who is watching this, if you want to up your reading game in 2022, you can join Readers Circle Book Club. Readers Circle Book Club. It's a Facebook community of over 2,000 members. So you can join Readers Circle Book Club. Just go on Facebook, search for Readers Circle Book Club. Okay, you will find us there. Join the community. You will see what we have been doing there. We study one book a month. We study each 3 books a quarter. And for each quarter, we have several themes, specific topics that we are learning. So it's an intentional learning process for us. And for those of us who have been following, members of my community who have been following, their lives have never really been the same, really, for good, because you cannot expose your mind to such a structured information and then you're still the same. It's hard, right? So that's there, my community, and my ultimate reading guide will be out. There has been lots of delays about it. I really apologize to everyone who have pre-ordered it, but then it's going to be out in the second quarter of this year. That's in April, and we're going to be putting it out, and everybody will have access to the reading guide. Basically, is to help you select the right books, read them, and get the best out of those books, because so many people don't even have the intelligence to look for the right books, the books they need at the moment. And some people are lucky to find the books they need at the moment, but they just don't have the fortitude to settle down and read them. Those who even barely scrap the fortitude to read those books only read them and dump them. They don't have the mechanism to perpetually apply those lessons until they see results. So this guide is more like a handheld. It's more like it holds your hands and guides you through these 3 processes so that at the end of the day, you're better off. Yes.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we spent over 1 hour 20 minutes. Wow. And believe me, that 1 hour 20 minutes is well spent, because now our mind has been renewed and we have a new focus. So we know that these are things we can put in place and to be on high level by that time, next time. So what's the good word message you can give to everybody watching us right now, and those that also be watching the recording section? What's the good word message you can give to us that can be like a take-home message?
Whatever you're doing, so long as you know you're on the right path, keep on doing it repeatedly. The secret is in the consistency. Some of the things you are doing now may not make sense. They may not yield results, not because they are wrong, but because you haven't reached that critical mass of repetition to create an impact. So just stay there, stay put, keep doing what you're doing, and the results will eventually follow. So long as you know you're convinced that what you're doing is you're on the right path, just continue.
Wow. I'm so blown. Like this is mind-boggling. The state I am right now can be described as like somebody who is trekking on a scorchy afternoon, like, on the sun. I was just somebody just call him and offer him a chill water. And I will just take the chill water and relax. Wow. That is just the level I am right now. So thank you very, very much for coming, Big Girl. I wish I can tell you how important your presence here tonight meant for me. Like, I couldn't meet you at the last goal setting session in January. I couldn't see you that time, but seeing you today just energizes me again. So thank you very much for showing up. We appreciate you a lot. We appreciate you a lot. And wish you many more blessings, many more greatness, and many more achievements. So where you are right now is going to be like a stepping stone to other places you'll be in the future. Thank you very much. And this is not bye bye, but see you again. So to everyone who participated in tonight's session, thank you for showing up. And this is March April session. The April edition is also going to be fantabulous. Thanks to everyone, and I wish you a great night. Thank you.